Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We've hijacked Jean's office yet again, but she's too busy to notice anyway. So in my last video, I was showing off a bunch of different Furina teams, and one of the teams I showed off was this Geo Plunge team with Navia. And while I was going over the team, I was also mentioning how Noelle is another really strong partner for Furina. I didn't show off the team in that video, but I thought, you know what, since Noelle is actually rerunning with Furina on this upcoming banner in a couple of days, I might as well do a short little Noelle guide and show off this team with Noelle and Furina in action. The Abyss reset a couple of days ago, and people have been saying how it's potentially the hardest Abyss we've ever had in Genshin Impact. Well, what if I told you that you can beat the hardest Abyss in Genshin Impact with a free character using a 4-star weapon, in this case Favonius. It's actually a really nice team because, like I said, Noelle and Furina is such a good pair. So Noelle is a character that fulfills a bunch of different roles. We call that role consolidation, not just in Genshin Impact, in gaming and even beyond gaming in general. She's a shielder, she is a healer, and she is a damage dealer. Now, because she does all three of those things, there are a couple of drawbacks to what she does. For example, her damage as an on-fielder is not the highest, and her healing is reliant on her being on the field and attacking the enemy, which creates an opportunity cost because with other healers you could have a stronger on-fielder attacking the enemy, thereby dealing more damage while you're healing. With Noelle, that's not an option. However, if you combine Noelle with someone like Furina, who has the strongest damage buff in the game, who buffs Noelle's damage so much that she actually starts dealing damage, and especially if you combine her with someone like Furina whose damage buff is contingent on you having a healer in the team as well, then suddenly an on-fielder who can shield, heal and deal damage at the same time in one character slot is actually really nice, because what that means is that between Noelle and Furina you basically have a full team already. You have damage off-field and on-field, you have healing and you have shielding, and you are free to put whoever character you want in these other two slots. But let's talk about how Noelle exactly functions. Noelle's elemental skill provides a shield, and the other thing is that while her shield is up, Noelle's normal and charge attacks have a certain chance to regenerate HP for all characters. So whenever she hits an enemy, let's pretend this Jay as an enemy, she has a 50 to 60% chance, depending on your talent level, to heal the HP by a little bit for all of your party members. Her elemental burst summons a big F-off sword with quite the attack range and quite the area of effect. Even if you switch off to Furina and back to Noelle, the burst is still active, which is nice quality of life. And while the elemental burst is active, Noelle deals additional damage based on her defense, and all her damage from her normal and charge attacks is converted into geo damage. Let's look at her constellations though, because this is where Noelle really starts shining. C2 increases her charge attack damage and reduces the stamina consumption. C4 adds a nice little explosion whenever her shield runs off, but the really important constellations for Noelle are C1 and C6. Let's talk about C6 first. Noelle gains additional scaling during her burst up time, so that means that during her burst up time she does a lot more damage after C6 than she does before. With C6 she can also extend the duration of her elemental burst by up to 10 seconds, which is also really nice quality of life, of course. Definitely, if you like Noelle, you should definitely strive to get her C6. However, with Furina in the party specifically, I would say that this pair already starts popping off at C1 Noelle. With Noelle's first constellation, whenever her elemental skill and burst are up at the same time, the healing chance whenever Noelle attacks an enemy is increased to 100%. Now that is really nice when you have a character like Furina in the party, because Furina obviously drains your whole party's HP with her elemental skill. And Furina's elemental burst provides a damage buff to the whole party, but it doesn't start out with maximum efficiency. The damage buff ramps up as HP is drained or refilled. So if you're able to use Noelle as an on-fielder and restore the HP constantly with her attacks with a 100% chance, then you're able to easily reach the maximum damage buff provided by Furina's elemental burst. In summary, Furina deals off-field damage and provides a damage buff, but the damage buff needs another healer to heal your HP back up again to increase the damage buff's efficiency and also to keep you alive, obviously. Noelle is able to provide that healing while attacking enemies. She is also able to shield herself to reduce incoming damage, and with the buff that Furina provides, Noelle actually does pretty decent damage. What this means is that you are free to use basically whatever character you want in these last two slots. Now, in my opinion, the best in slot 3rd character here is Yelan, Yelan provides an additional damage buff to the on-fielder, aka Noelle, while also dealing really good off-field damage herself. Furina is then able to buff Yelan's damage as well at the same time as Noelle's damage, and the Hydro Resonance is nice because it buffs the damage of both Furina and Yelan. However, you don't have to run her. You could run someone like Fischl here, you could run Chiori or Albedo for the Geo Resonance and off-field damage. You could run other off-field damage dealers like Beidou, and you also have other options like another buffer like Bennett, for example. And because you're also running a defense scaling unit in Noelle, you can also run Goro as a buffer here. What I did in my Abyss run here with the 4.7 Abyss, I paired up these 3 units with Chiori, but yeah, this could be Yelan Fischl, Yelan Beidou, Fischl Goro, Fischl Beidou, Goro Beidou, could be anything really. You could throw in Bennett there, you could also throw in Xingqiu, because I'm not 100% positive on this, but I do believe that the damage reduction provided by Xingqiu's Rain Swords is applied before damage calculation on Noelle's shield, and her shield is necessary for her healing, so having bigger uptime on that is of course really nice as well. Okay, here we are again at Musgrave in front of the Spiral Abyss. I'll quickly go over how to build Noelle before I show off some footage. Husk of Opulent Dreams is probably her best in slot artifact set because it provides 30% defense, which increases her damage and her healing, and then her 4P set bonus provides even more defense that ramps up over time. So this is a really nice set for her. But what's good about Noelle is that there's a really good budget option, so to speak. If you've been farming up gladiator pieces over time, that's actually a pretty nice set because it provides an attack bonus. Now Noelle is a defense scaling unit, but she's a defense scaling unit in the sense that her defense is converted into attack and her burst damage still scales with attack, and then obviously you get the 35% damage increase for normal attacks. The only downside is that when you run gladiator you do not get a damage increase for your charge attacks, which are actually really nice on Noelle because it has really good range during her burst if you look at that. But even then her normal attacks are also really good and have really good range, even to the side of Noelle as well. So yes, for artifacts my recommendation would be Husk of Opulent Dreams if you have a good set or if you're willing to farm a good set, otherwise just run Gladiators 4Ps. You want to run a crit rate or crit damage circlet, whichever one is better for your crit ratio. You want to run a geo damage goblet, although you can get away with a defense scaling goblet. A defense scaling goblet will actually provide you a bit less damage, but also slightly better healing efficiency on Noelle because her healing scales off defense. If you don't necessarily have C2 Furina and you need a bit more healing in order to maximize her damage buff, then you could honestly go for a defense scaling cup as well. For the timepiece, pretty much always go for defense. It's the most important stat for her because it increases her damage and her healing. Even if you need energy recharge, what I would suggest honestly is just putting Favonius on her and using her as a battery for the whole team. But if you wanted to maximize Noelle's personal damage, obviously Favonius would not be the right choice, even though it is great for her as a battery. Ideally you'd want to go with Ito's signature weapon, the Redhorn Stone Thrasher or Slasher or something like that, because it's a really good weapon that not only provides a lot of defense but also crit value. But you do have other options as well. Skyward Bride is a nice damage upgrade over Favonius. It still provides pretty good ER and is obviously a better damage weapon than Favonius. But then you also have the option of running crit weapons like the Beacon of the Reed Sea or the Verdict. Now in both of these cases the passive isn't super useful, but the high base attack still is, and so is obviously the crit value they provide. There's still the Wolf's Gravestone, which obviously still provides an insane amount of attack. And then you have the Ultimate Overlord's Mega Magic Sword, which is actually nice because of the attack and the energy recharge, and other 4-star crit value weapons like the Blackcliff Slasher or the Serpent Spine. Speaking of energy recharge, her elemental burst doesn't need a whole lot. It is a 60 energy cost burst, and because you're on-fielding her a lot, she absorbs a lot of particles. Still, you'd want to build a decent amount. If she is the only geo option in your team, you would want to go for at least around 150-160 ER. If you add Albedo or Chiori or someone else, another geo character, this will drop down to like 140 to be comfortable. Really, with the Favonius Greatsword, which provides 61 ER, I have actually way more than I need. So let's go through the Abyss footage together. I was using the Noelle team on the second half, which it was the harder one of the two for sure, especially with the many waves and some of the dangerous enemies. As you can see here, what's actually really nice is that Noelle has a lot of value in her kit that isn't as obvious, or it's not as explicitly mentioned in her description. So one thing that I already went over is the attack range on Noelle while her burst is up. In many cases she is actually a DPS increase over other characters in similar situations, just because she's able to hit so many different enemy character models with her swings from a really large distance. She doesn't have to walk over to them a lot of the time, and AoEing is really no problem with her whatsoever. And yeah, the other bonus is of course the fact that you can switch out of Noelle and back onto her, and her elemental burst is still active. So this is the run that I did with the Favonius weapon. I did another one with the Verdict, which was a bit faster, and I might show you the Verdict footage here at the end as well, but the Favonius one is the one I'm commentating over. Okay, this is the second chamber, second half, and let's actually go over the rotation here. So we start off with Furina EQ, start building those damage buff stacks, go into Chiori, and then Yelan to do her elemental skill and burst, and then we're just swinging on Noelle. Ideally you don't want to go for her full normal attack rotation, you want to leave out at least the last swing most of the time, because there's a bit of a delay. You can see I often just go for 3 swings and dash to cancel. But yet, as you can see, the Favonius sword makes the rotation quite smooth. Although my Chiori really doesn't quite have as much ER as she should have. So even with the Favonius weapon, sometimes Chiori's elemental burst is not up in time, but 9 out of 10 times it is. There it is again, for example. And yeah, one nice reason to bring Yelan is of course the fact that you want to have quite a bit of Hydra application in this abyss on the second side, because there are quite a lot of pyro shields or pyro enemies. But yeah, it is a really nice rotation, and you just feel so powerful playing Noelle for some reason. With that huge attack range and shielding and healing the whole team, you feel so powerful. Okay, this is 12-3 second half. Again, we start off with Furina EQ. We go into Chiori stuff, we go into Yelan EQ, and then back on Furina, Noelle, we use her elemental burst and her elemental skill, and as you can see, all of her normal attacks heal the entire team back up, which then builds damage stacks or fanfare stacks for Furina's burst. We are able to hit a lot of enemies with Noelle, like I said. I get hit here a couple of times, unfortunately, but luckily nobody died, and Noelle is able to heal the team back up again somewhat. Yeah, look at that range, man. That's so nice. And we generate a lot of particles with Favonius. Battery the whole team. And this is why I like role consolidation units, right? Again, Noelle is the damage dealer here, the on-fielder, so to speak. She's the driver. But she's not only the driver, she's also the shielder, she's the healer, and she's the battery. And what that means, if you are able to combine all of those roles in one slot, you are so free to use. You are free to use basically whatever you want in the other slots. You have a lot more freedom there. You can adapt to any situation, you can put in as much damage as possible in the other slots. And that's why I like role consolidation characters like Dea, for example, or Kokomi even. So yeah, even though there's a lot of damage coming from the enemies here in this chamber in the second half, we're still able to survive because that shield on Noelle is still pretty nice. She does provide the healing, and yeah, that's the Abyss done. 12 stars. So yeah, I think that was a pretty nice showing. Keep in mind that my Noelle is not fully invested in. She doesn't even have her best in slot artifact set. She is using a 4-star weapon. Her E, which is crucial for healing, is only at talent level 9. Could easily be at talent level 12, because I obviously have the constellation. Her crit ratio is nothing crazy. I've seen Noelle with 200% crit damage. This is nothing. And still the team functioned pretty much perfectly. But I'll show you another run where I'm using Navia's signature weapon, the Verdict, and a crit damage circlet as opposed to a crit rate circlet. But yeah, up next some more Abyss footage with the Verdict, and then I'll be back at the end. So there you have it, gamers. Noelle and Furina is a really nice team. Like I said, Noelle is rerunning with her as well in a couple of days. Obviously everyone has Noelle if you've wished on the beginner banner, but if you're going for Siege Queen or Furina, there's a good chance that you're picking up some Noelle constellations if you don't have them yet already. And I wanted to show you that you can make really good use of those constellations, because Noelle and Furina is an excellent pair, and the two of them together can create a lot of teams with a lot of different options for the third and for the fourth slot. It's a very adaptable team, and it's really fun to play as well, because normal attacking during Noelle's burst is a lot of fun. But that's it for now, gamers. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.